Before beginning this lesson, you should be able to count the beat for the song The Lily of the Valley, and you should have practiced moving your hands and feet with the beat until you have developed motor coordination and muscle memory. Today, we will be using these skills to begin playing the drums. For the video, we will be using a set of electronic drums. There are many advantages to using electronic drums, including the following. The student can practice electronic drums with headphones and not disturb the rest of the household. It is easy to control the volume of electronic drums, which makes them useful in the widest variety of settings. Electronic drums offer a wide selection of instruments, enabling the drummer to learn to play a variety of musical styles. And electronic drums have a MIDI interface, making them easy to use for MIDI composing and recording. MIDI is an acronym for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It is an electronic musical instrument industry specification that enables a wide variety of electronic musical instruments, computers, and other related devices to connect and communicate with one another. A typical electronic drum set consists of a frame to hold the various parts, a set of trigger pads, which are connected by cables to the electronic drum module which produces the sounds, a kick pedal, and a hi-hat pedal. To practice the exercises for this lesson, you will need to print out a copy of the beginner drum chart for the Lily of the Valley from the PDF folder of the Digital Tutor. There are several audio MP3 files for you to listen to while practicing. They are in the audio folder of the Digital Tutor. If you do not have a drum set with which to practice, you can create your own practice set using some common household items like books or buckets. For this lesson, we will only be playing the bass drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hat. You can simply tap your right foot to practice the bass or kick drum, but it is helpful if you can tap something that will make some noise. Let's take a look at drumsticks. A drumstick is a percussion mallet that is used for playing unpitched percussion. You should recall that a trap set or drum kit is a collection of unpitched percussion instruments, including a bass drum, a snare drum, tom-toms, and cymbals. These unpitched percussion instruments do not play a particular pitch, and drum music is written on the neutral clef, which has no pitch. This is in contrast to pitched percussion instruments, which play notes of distinct and varying pitches. Pitched percussion instruments include the timpani, which uses a pedal to change the pitch of the drum, and the vibraphone, which has a series of metal bars, each of which plays a different pitched tone when struck. These pitched instruments are most commonly played with a different type of percussion mallet, having a softer head than a drumstick. Let's take a look at the anatomy of a typical drumstick. Your most common drumstick is turned on a lathe from a single piece of wood, most commonly hickory, maple, or oak. The tip or bead of the drumstick is the part most often used to strike the instrument. Tips can come in various shapes, including acorn, barrel, oval, or round. The shoulder of the stick is the part that tapers towards the tip. The shaft is the body of the stick, and the butt is the end opposite the tip. There are two main ways to grip a pair of drumsticks. In the traditional or orthodox grip, the left hand uses an underhand grip, while the right hand uses an overhand grip. It is called traditional because it descends from military marching drummers who carried a snare drum on a sling hung from the neck or shoulder. To keep the drum from banging the knees, the drummer would position it to one side, with the head tilted slightly for easier reach. This would make an overhand grip easy for one hand, but an underhand grip much less awkward for the other. Here in this famous painting titled Spirit of 76, painted by Archibald Willard in 1891, you can see the drum tilted and angled to the side, and the drummer using the traditional grip to make it easier to play. Although many trap set drummers use the traditional grip, the matched grip is also very popular. In the matched grip, the drummer holds both sticks with an overhand grip. For both the underhand and overhand grip, it is important for the stick to be able to pivot in the grip. For a proper sound, the tip of the stick should strike the head and bounce back. For an underhand grip, this is accomplished by holding the stick with the thumb and index finger and then rotating the wrist to strike the drum. The thumb controls the bounce of the stick. For an overhand grip, the stick is also held between the thumb and index finger, with the other fingers lightly curling around the bottom of the stick. The stick can then freely pivot in the grip, enabling it to bounce properly after impact. For our practice piece, we will be playing just one drum pattern for every measure. We will play the snare drum with our left hand on beats 2 and 4. Unless your teacher gives you specific instructions, you can try both the traditional and the matched grip techniques and decide which you find more comfortable. Now it's time to get ready to practice. If you will be practicing with acoustic drums or makeshift drums, then hook up your computer either to speakers or to headphones and you are ready to go. If you're using electronic drums, then you will need to plug your computer and your drums both into your amplifier. Your computer probably has an 1/8" phone jack. Plug an 1/8" cable into your headphone jack and then use an 1/8" to a 3/4" adapter to plug into the amplifier. Set up your printed drum chart on a music stand or some other way that you can follow along. You need to develop the habit from the beginning of following each measure of the music as you play. You may say, but every measure is exactly the same. Why do I need to follow the music? The answer is because an actual performance drum chart is going to have lots of variations, and you will need to follow the music in order to know what to play. Then, as you move on from drum music to bass guitar music and then other pitched instruments, you will have already learned how to follow a music chart. Practice the song with Wally, counting out loud and playing the bass drum on beats 1 and 3. Practice that as many times as necessary to master the skill set. Then demonstrate it to your teacher. Now it's time to add the snare drum. Remember, you play the snare drum with your left hand. Strike the head of the drum with the tip of the drumstick and let it rebound, like this for the traditional or orthodox grip, or like this for the matched grip. Practice the song with Wally, counting out loud, playing the bass drum on beats 1 and 3, playing the snare drum with your left hand on beats 2 and 4, and following the music on your drum chart. Practice that as many times as necessary to master the skill set. Then demonstrate it to your teacher. Now let's add the closed hi-hat. To play the closed hi-hat, we press the foot pedal with the left foot and hold it down, which keeps the two cymbals of the hi-hat held together. Then with our right hand, we strike the top cymbal like this. Practice the song with Wally, counting out loud, playing the bass drum on beats 1 and 3, playing the snare drum on beats 2 and 4, playing the hi-hat on all 4 beats, and following the music on your drum chart. Practice that as many times as necessary to master the skill set. Then demonstrate it to your teacher. Once you are satisfied that you know what the drum rhythm should sound like, you may also want to practice this piece using the audio file The Lily of the Valley Counting Practice 2 Counting.mp3. This features the instruments without the drums, so you will be providing the rhythm. Let's review now what we have learned in this lesson. We learned that electronic drums offer a wide selection of instruments, enabling a drummer to play a variety of musical styles. We learned that MIDI is an acronym for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It is an electronic musical instrument industry specification that enables a wide variety of electronic musical instruments, computers, and other related devices to connect and communicate with one another. We learned that drumsticks are a particular kind of percussion mallet that is used for playing unpitched percussion instruments like a drum kit. The anatomy of a drumstick includes the tip or bead, the shoulder, the shaft, and the butt. We learned that the traditional or orthodox grip calls for an underhand grip for the left hand and an overhand grip for the right hand, whereas the matching grip calls for an overhand grip for both hands. And finally, we learned how to play a simple drum pattern on the drums.